All right, so me and Wyatt were sitting here talking about hip mobility and why it's important, not only for me with combat sport athletes, but also with the strength sport, speed sport, football, basketball, baseball, all that, like how it can be orchestrated and how it can be implemented into a training process for every single athlete, because the hips are our suspension system. It allows us to redirect force, it allows us to produce force, and it stabilizes the body, especially when you're trying to rotate and move efficiently. So, Wyatt, what are some of those key hip mobility drills that you like to do? Give me one of them, bro.
I like doing a C-skip, right? Okay. So we're just working, it's almost like an A-skip, but then you're gonna transition to that lateral side like you're doing a gate, right? And you're gonna open it up, all right? And it's just gonna really work on opening up your hips. So we wanna stay up and down, nice and tall, so we're gonna go up and then out. And then we're just gonna transition to the other leg. And we're just gonna repeat that process. So we do here, out, here, out, here, out, here, out. Love that, because it's really opening you up. We want to make sure that we're staying, square too. We don't want to like get outside of our frame too much. Okay.
And what's the sets and reps where you would do it?
I would say that we would do this for like 2 rounds, right? And taking it like 10 yards down and 10 yards back. Okay. Just to really get into the warm of it.
Nice. So this is more of a dynamic type of movement. So you would do this primarily, you would do this more fast dynamic, so this is a part of your dynamic warm-up.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
100%.
So for me, I also like to do the dynamic in a faster version, but I also like to start slower. So what I do is I'll do a side or let's say a Cossack squat, and then I'll open, externally rotate and internally rotate the far side hip. So I'm gonna open up, sink into the position as far as I can, open, flex the foot, bring it back in, and then come back up in control.
So you're doing an external rotation and an internal rotation.
Exactly, exactly. And it's in a closed chain environment. So sit, hold, chest tall, open, close it down, and then stand tall. Yep, and then when you do the other side, same thing. So here, sink, hold, open, back in, tall.
I like that.
Usually we do this going for distance, so you're looking at like 3 reps going down in like a 10-yard span.
Okay.
3 and 3 or 2 and 2. Right? All right, guys, real quick before we get back to the video, I wanted to make the announcement that yes, I've been nominated once again for the 8th time Trainer of the Year for the World MMA Awards. Thank you to Fighters Only Magazine and everyone who has nominated me once again. If you want to show your support and vote for the Trainer of the Year, click the link down below in the description and I can win it for the 6th time. So would truly appreciate your support by clicking it down below and voting on whoever, along with all those other nominees. So make sure you go ahead and check it out, and let's get back to the video. Give me another one.
If I had to pick another one, like, again, going for the dynamic side, acting like you have hurdles, and this is a great one, so acting like we're stepping underneath that hurdle, and we're having that toe pivot back to us, and we have almost like an internal rotation, so it's working on the outside part of our glute as well. Sinking down, pushing in, and then coming even, and then resetting and doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's dope.
Pivoting into that foot and pushing into it.
So you're just turning.
Yep, so we're staying here, we start square. That outside leg is gonna be the lead. So we're gonna stick that out, toes pointing back, and then we're going to push and pivot and extend that back leg, and then come square, and then repeat. And now we would do these for like 5 yards. Yeah. Right, we'd go like down 5 yards, come back the opposite leg.
And would you use hurdles to get underneath there?
You could. Those would be a good way to keep you honest. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you don't feel like you're cheating. Yeah. But I mean, if you're a disciplined athlete, and we are, a lot of the people that we train are, they're not gonna cheat it. They're gonna come here, they're gonna challenge themselves to get low, pivot, push into that hip, come square and reset. But you could definitely use hurdles. Gotcha.
So we've shown some closed chain movements. Let's go to the open chain. And what I like to do is called hip airplanes. Now, most of the time when you get good at it, you're proficient at it, you can use without any stability, so you don't have to use a wall or a rack. But to start it off, hands on the wall, you're gonna go ahead and grip the ground, 3 points of contact with the down leg, and then the magic happens with the up leg. So we're gonna go ahead and load, internally rotate the hip, load this hip here, and then externally rotate, opening up and closing the angle down. Opening and closing the angle down. Now the goal here, when you go to externally rotate the backside leg, don't let the knee that's down, don't let it valgus in, right? So we want to maintain supination of the foot and we're gonna drive into that internal rotation as much as possible, loading this far side hip on the glute med to maintain stability, and then open up, but keep the chest down on this one, right? And then the progression to that would be coming here and being open here, airplane style, we're here, and then you're gonna open as far as you can, and then close the angle down. Just open, and then close the angle down.
Okay.
All right, so a little bit of stability and mobility at that.
But how many like sets, repetitions?
Maybe 1 to 2 sets, 5 repetitions, and then you want to pause like 5 seconds at every point. So internal rotation, external rotation.
Okay, okay. I like that a lot. I mean, like the one thing that, if I had to pick like another one, because the one thing I've learned is like you're only as good as like what you know and who you know, right? So good coaches are willing to learn things from other coaches. And when we had our NFL group, you took us through that, and I love that. We had them on the wall. They're up nice and tall. As a matter of fact, their forearm was on the wall. We had that opposite arm out. They drove that knee up. They kept the toe and dorsiflexion, and you had us super hyper focused on the knee over hip level, right? Then we externally rotated, opened up. We had that internal rotation, we kick back, and then we drop down, and we internal rotate in. And then we just repeat that whole thing coming back out and up to the front. I love that. I thought it was super dynamic. I thought it was very focused on the actual mobility aspect of the hip.
So that's what we would call controlled articular rotation. Right? It's an FRC principle. The main thing there is like controlling every position. So you gotta be able to own the position before you can be dynamic there. So that's another testing, or like I would say an assessment, to see what range the actual hip capsule has. And then if they're lagging, if they compensate, the knee bends or your butt kicks out or anything like that, you know that they're compensating through adjacent joints to try to get the range. And then at that point, we know that they don't have full capacity there. So we have to stimulate that movement, stay in that path, and work that path accordingly so that they can gain more range throughout the entire hip capsule, right? So when it comes down to it, right, there's so many ways to do this. On top of that, you have to look at posture, right? So they have to be able to stack the rib cage over the pelvis. And a lot of times that comes from over breathing, or that comes from just inefficient breathing. So we want to also, before you do any of this, is to get to a point where you can have optimal posture, where you're stacking the rib cage over the pelvis. So getting in like a 90-90 position on the wall. So we're here, we're gonna go 90-90. And all I'm doing from here is I'm just gonna slide, slightly slide, activate my hamstrings and tuck my pelvis in, right? So I'm gonna stack the rib cage over the pelvis. From there, I'm gonna relax my head, hands come down, and just breathe. Expand. And again, I'm not just breathing through my belly, I'm breathing into my back. And like I said, this is just orientating the pelvis in the right position so that you can start to work internal and external rotation. A lot of times athletes will be stuck in external rotation and they'll be almost ducked out, where their feet will be out like this. So what we want to do is we first have to set the pelvis aligned. We have to set the hips in the optimal position for them to go into that internal, external hip extension, hip flexion. Once that's set and ready to go, then we can start working these motions too as well. All right guys, so if you want to learn from us or train with us, me or Wyatt, online, anywhere in the world, go ahead and check out the link in the description for online one-on-one coaching. If you like this style of video when we're just kind of going over stuff, make sure you hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe. I'll be putting out a lot more content. I got Caleb behind the scenes there. He's gonna edit it all up. Make sure that we're consistent and we're putting out a lot of content for you guys. So show me some love, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys next time.
Elbow this time.
This time?
Elbow,
I'll do the spinning elbow.
Oh yeah, do that right now. Yeah, sure.